running the option on first down. Hagan has it. He has room. He's got one man to beat. Now he pitches to Flanagan, and he may take it all the way. Flanagan's in for the touchdown.
McKinley Wright from the logo. Oh, got it! Oh, McKinley Wright
breaks a tackle. Touchdown! Touchdown! That's 5 for Chris Brown.
The defensive Tomlinson. Colorado is going to the NCAA tournament.
Stewart with time. Lets it go. He's got 3 people down there. The ball's up in the air. Caught! Touchdown! Caught by Westbrook for a touchdown!
I think they like my Colorado swag, 'cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in it go, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag. My Colorado
Welcome into the DMVR Buffs podcast presented by the Colorado XOs. I'm Henry Chisholm. Want to start off by saying happy opening day to everybody who observes that. To me personally, opening day means the first of 162 bets I will be making against the Rockies this season, and I'm pretty excited about that. Today, I took the Rockies to lose by at least 5 runs. That was the most that I could take, plus 200 and something odds, so we'll see if that hits. Actually, real quick, let's make that the DraftKings pick of the week. We're going to start... Oh, wow, this is a terrible way to do this. This show is going to be unorganized. But DraftKings pick of the week. Bet against the Rockies every game the rest of the season, and I think you're going to come out ahead. Also, since I should probably give you a more serious pick, take Gonzaga to cover against UCLA. It sucks. Just got to bite the bullet, except that Gonzaga is the best team in the country. They've won all but one of their games by double digits, and the line's at 14. That's a lot of points, but Gonzaga's really good. Love UCLA. Going to be rooting for me to lose money on this, but just take the money we can get it. Same thing with Baylor, -5. These two teams were destined to play each other in the championship. It's going to happen. Take them to cover. Maybe even parlay it, make some money, and then use that money to bet on Gonzaga to win the championship. It really is that simple. There's a DraftKings pick of the week that we're getting out of the way early. For a second there, I didn't have to think about the Rockies. That was cool. We've got a lot of Buff stuff to talk about, though. Rick George had a call today. It was like a call in place of his state of CU athletics. That wasn't what was going on. It was more of just like an update heading into the final quarter of this fiscal year. A pretty dark fiscal year because of everything that happened. So we got a bunch of good stuff from Rick George, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Could be a little bit shorter podcast. We'll see. But some good stuff on, where the budget stands, what the Pac-12's performance in the basketball tournament means going forward. Some other good stuff like that. And then tomorrow we'll be back with, let's see, who are we talking to? Oh, I'm talking to Carl Durrell tomorrow night and Dimitri Stanley and Isaiah Lewis. So stay tuned for that. I think the call is at 6. The podcast will probably be in your feed around 8 tomorrow night. That's Friday night. And then we'll be back on Monday to talk about Monday's practice. So there's your plan for the next couple days. Real quick, let's talk about the Colorado XOs. If you guys have not been following along, a lot of cool stuff happening in the rugby world in Colorado. Glendale, Colorado is actually known as Rugby Town, USA. That is why the training facility in Glendale is the Rugby Town National Training Center. It's where the U.S. teams train for all of their national competitions, international competitions, I guess. And it's also where the Colorado XOs train because they are trying to get their players onto the U.S. national team. It's a really cool concept. They're working in conjunction with U.S. Rugby, and they're taking athletes who've never played rugby, teaching them how to play rugby, seeing if they can make them good enough to play on the national team. And so far, the results are pretty good. Colorado Raptors are 2-1 in their first season, so Follow along with the DNVR Rugby podcast, DNVR Rugby on Twitter, written content at thednvr.com. It's good stuff. All right. Rick George. So he did start off by, addressing the shooting in Boulder, said, it's an awful day. Hate that we have to talk about this, but it'd be wrong to talk about anything else because this is, what's most important. He said that there's no place for these acts of violence, and he's been talking with student athletes. Basically, his message has just been like, now is the time to come together. Said that his heart goes out to the victims and their families, thoughts and prayers, all that kind of stuff. And then he moved along to opening day. He said good luck to the Rockies, and immediately after said, excited that they're going to have fans at the stadium. It's been 550 days since the Rockies have had fans in their stadium for a baseball game. He said that he's been watching the news, and he really likes seeing the Avs have fans back, the Nuggets have fans back. It's pretty clear that Rick George wants to have fans in the stadium. We'll skip ahead in the notes to where he was asked about potentially having fans in the stadium. And he was actually asked a couple of different times in different ways. And basically what he said was, we've got really great home schedules for football and for basketball. And he said, I think that we could fill the stadium and fill the arena often because of these schedules. But, we'll do what the county says. We hope we can learn from the Rockies, learn from what the other professional sports teams are doing. But the desire is to put as many people as we can safely into the stadium and the event center. Again, he was asked about it later on in the call, and he said that he was asked about working particularly with Boulder County and whether he feels that they've been a little bit more conservative than some of the other counties. And what Rick said was he's not worried about working with the county. That's a lot of his job is being in communication with Boulder County. He said that it's not just the county, it's the county and the state, and that he is hoping that the guidelines are consistent across the state. The fact that the Rockies have so many fans in their stadium at this point with vaccines being available to the general public starting tomorrow, he said, that gives us great hope that we can fill our stadium. He said that at the same time, they've had to adjust a whole lot very often over the last 13 months. That's going to be true going forward, most likely. He said in the middle of the summer, they're going to talk with the county and see where they're at. Again, he did seem very optimistic. I think you would have to be optimistic considering that the vaccine, again, is available to the general public tomorrow, and your first football game isn't for another almost 5 months, maybe even a little more than 5 months. I'm not sure what the exact date is. Depends. It's always right on that borderline, August and September, but right about 5 months. You would think if the goal really is to get herd immunity, which is typically, they say, like around 70 to 75%. I haven't thought about that number in forever because we've gotten to the point where I can't do it anymore. But you should have fans. You should have fans. And we'll knock on wood because crazy things have been happening, but I don't know what exactly happened. Like mass just denial to get the vaccine. I don't know. Knocking on wood, I'm going to be up all night trying to think of what could possibly keep fans out of that stadium. Who knows? Vaccines don't work. Again, knock on wood. I don't know. Jumping back into some of the other stuff, back in his opening statement, he talked about how kind of crazy the last 13 months have been. Not just with the pandemic, but with the George Floyd and everything that followed. He said it was a year that was filled with a lot. And student athletes had to deal with a lot just to play, too. Constantly changing protocols. But he said everybody worked really well. I'm really happy with what I saw from the student athletes, from the coaches, and that's a good sign. He also said that they administered 14,395 COVID tests. Out of those 14,395, there were 92 positives. That's a 0.64% positive rate for the athletics department. And he added on top of that, for the men's basketball team to play 31 games That's pretty phenomenal. Noted that 6 sports have already completed their seasons. He also talked about how hard it can be on the staff, not necessarily like the football staff or the basketball staff, but the athletics department staff, when basically everybody's competing at the same time. At one point, there were 16 of the 17 teams that were all competing. And you've got to, get those athletes fed. They need to be able to work out. They need the access to the training facilities. They need to share the gyms. So many things are needed to keep any one of those programs going. The staff was asked to do a lot in that time frame. We'll shout out to them from Rick George as well. On top of all of that, first of all, the student athletes had their best GPA ever last fall. And on top of that, it was so good that for the first time ever, the student athlete population matched the general student body in terms of GPA. Again, for the first time ever, that's really impressive. It would be kind of crazy if, this semester, for example, they could just surpass this general student population. Because could you imagine, like, there are a lot of people who think that like college sports are not worth anything and that they don't make any sense. And you know what? There's something to it. The fact that it's like a school and they're putting on sports, there's a reason it doesn't happen in the rest of the world. I'm very happy that it does happen though, and college sports should be cherished and all that. But could you imagine if the people who are like anti-college sports had to say, well, if you get rid of student athletes, it's going to bring down the whole school's GPA. I don't know. It just feel pretty good. It'd be a good argument for the athletic department to have on its side. Mentioned, not only did the student athletes like compete, finish 6 seasons, football team got to a bowl game. The basketball team, in Rick George's words, they had a good run but fell a little short against Florida State. Overall, still a good year. I kind of like that. I was expecting when he got to football or to men's basketball for Rick George to praise them. And there was some of that for sure, but I don't know. There was also, it fell a little short against Florida State, There was more meat on the bone there. He said he's proud of women's basketball team, 1 win away from getting to the tournament. Still important to get back to the postseason. They got to the WNIT, and they won a couple games there. So a positive sign. And again, 1 win away from the tournament, and they've been so close the last couple years. Maybe next year is the year that they finally put all of the pieces together. Pac-12 basketball, in terms of like the whole conference, he said, I've been saying for a couple of years that it's all just about the cycles. One conference is up here, while the other conference is, they just had a couple one and dones move on, a couple like 4-year guys who are identities for some mid-level teams, they move on, and all of a sudden you're in a bit of a rebuilding year across the conference. Well, 2 years later, guess what? You've rebuilt, and now you're really good. And, that's the message Rick George has had talking about basketball and football in the past. And for him to be able to come back and say, I've been saying for a couple of years that's all just cycles, that's got to feel good for him. He said he's really proud of the conference. He said that they weren't getting the respect that they deserve. And he also noted that they need to do a better job of marketing the conference to the rest of the country. A very, very important point, I think. And he also said that, looking at the top 25 rankings throughout the season, or even at the end of the season, the fact that CU was at the front of the conference at number 22, he said was never right. And again, he seems to feel pretty vindicated by what he saw. Talked a little bit about the ski team's accomplishments, coach retiring, key points here. Eduardo Herrera won the Pac-12 cross-country title. Going to the budget, he said not much has changed compared to what he's told us in the past. Still looking at an $18 to $20 million deficit. They're planning for different scenarios. And again, brought it up here too. Excited to see a half-full stadium at Rockies games. Gives them cautious optimism. in general, he's excited about what's ahead in the next year for Colorado athletics. He's excited about what that could potentially look like. In my mind, what that could potentially look like is Colorado making it to a bowl game, first of all. Who knows? Maybe they can build on the success last year and take another step forward, compete for a conference title. You look to the basketball team, and they're coming off a really great season. Definitely losing some pieces. Definitely a younger, less experienced team next year. But can they finish top 5 and make it to the NCAA tournament? Absolutely. You look at the women's basketball program. One win away from the NCAA tournament. Could they get in there? And then all of a sudden, you're in really great shape. And that's before you address, the ski program, which even moving forward, they should be competing for national titles. There's a lot that's working in the athletics department right now. It's kind of a shame that what they have to show for it is a $20 million deficit. That deficit, by the way, Rick George said that the big reasons are that they couldn't sell tickets to games and that the payout from the conference was lower than usual because of the pandemic. Combine those two things, that's why the revenue is reduced by about half. He was asked whether the administration in the athletics department is going to push student athletes to get vaccinated, and he said, it's up to the student to decide whether they want to get vaccinated, up to the coaches as well, but we're absolutely encouraging that. But again, certainly an individual decision. We respect that. But we would really like it if everybody was vaccinated. And, could you imagine next season if you have to go on a pause because of a COVID breakout because people didn't get the vaccine on your team? Not many worse feelings in the world than post-pandemic to have to stop playing. And that's just one of the many terrible scenarios that could come from not getting vaccinated. Again, it's everybody's choice. Pass on contract incentives. He was asked about that. Have any coaches said that they aren't going to take their incentives? He said we're going to have those conversations, but it is just the coach's choice. If the contract dictates that you get a bonus, then your choice if you want to take that bonus or not. You'll remember last year, Tad didn't take his bonuses because of the pandemic. Although Rick did say that if he has control, like if it's a situation where he has the option to offer a bonus, that's not happening. If it's in the contract that you get a bonus, then it's up to the coaches. So that's what's going on there. He was asked about the recruiting visits. So there's a dead period right now that extends, I believe, to the end of May at this point. And Rick was asked, do you think that you're going to be able to end that dead period at some point over the summer? That it's a national NCAA imposed dead period. And do you think that you could safely have recruiting visits? And what Rick had to say was, my guess is that we're going to start with a quiet period, which means that coaches can't go out and recruit. If Darren Cheverini says, all right, time to hit the road, it'd be, I guess, kind of a weird time considering it's not football season, but maybe there's some spring football games happening down in Texas still because they didn't play in the fall. Well, Darren Cheverini right now can't go out there and go to a bunch of football games, talk to a bunch of players, do that kind of stuff. A quiet period, though, would mean that those players could go to CU and visit with the coaches and do that sort of thing. Rick says he thinks that that's going to be the next step after the dead period. He did say, though, that he does think it's safe, that they can safely have students on campus. They've had a lot of practice doing things safely. He also said that he told Tad that he's free to just stay on the golf course all summer and just do what he did last year because it was his best recruiting class ever. And so he doesn't really necessarily want Tad going out and doing things differently because things went so well. It was a joke, but he did make the point that, maybe we should be giving some of these recruiting days back to coaches. And I'm not sure what the number is right now, whether you're allowed to be like out on the road recruiting 25 days out of the year, whatever it is. does kind of make sense though, because you can do a lot of that virtually now in a way that you couldn't 5-10 years ago. Rick George says that he's pushing for, fewer days out on the road, more virtual visits. Could it be because that's what was happening when Tad signed his best class? Absolutely. But also, it just makes sense. And I think I agree with him. I don't follow recruiting as closely, or the coach's plans or their feelings about recruiting. We do hear that coaches are upset that they haven't been able to get out there and recruit and see things for themselves. But it does seem like you could probably cut that back. I think it's probably a good point. Reduces budgets, all that sort of thing. Let's take a quick break right here. Some more stuff to get into, talking about how to finance that $18 to $20 million deficit, talking about the commissioner, a couple more notes to clean up about that sort of thing before we get out of here. But first, I want to remind you guys that if you want to have more information about this in particular, this call with Rick George, well, you should become a member of the DNVR, or of DNVR, so that you can get access to the written content at thednvr.com. That's where I'm going to have a story up on something from this call. I'm actually not sure what I'm going to write about yet. Probably fans, probably the schedule. I'm starting to formulate some ideas. But, if that doesn't intrigue you, I think yesterday I wrote about Jarek Broussard now being faster and better and more elusive than he was last year. That I feel like would be fun to read. And if not, if you're more of an Alex Fontenot guy, there's something up on his recovery being back to 100%, his feelings going into this season as, almost a challenger, which is kind of crazy considering where he was as a starter just a couple years ago. A bunch of stuff on the website, though, is the point. Oh, some schematic stuff, too. The changes to the offense, changes to the defense. If you guys want to read all that, again, become a member, head to thednvr.com, and you get a whole bunch of cool things. For example, you get access to a members-only Discord. You get a big beer for the size of a small beer at the DNVR bar. You get weekly deals from the DNVR locker. And we have a fun new perk. If you sign up to become an annual DNVR member, not only do you receive a free shirt of your choice from the DNVR locker, but you'll also get a Recover Holistic Stick from Holistic Wellness. What's that, you ask? Holistic Wellness is all about the CBD. The stick we will send you packs 10 milligrams of CBD, and this one is focused on recovery. All you do is pop the top of the stick, pour it in any drink, stir it, and consume. They are amazing and so easy to use. There's no mess. So grab the stick, pop the top, stir. Check out the reviews at holisticwellness.com. That's HOLISTIK wellness.com. Better yet, they're offering our listeners 30% of their first purchase using code DNVR30. Get an annual membership, free DNVR shirt, and a holistic stick with a coupon inside. It's a banger of a deal. We suggest using your DNVR30 code on the sampler pack. You get the Recover stick, the Sleep stick, the Stress stick, the Beauty stick, the Digest stick. I guess that Stress stick is actually an anti-stress stick. I don't know. Don't make assumptions, though. You know what those do. Head to thednvr.com today, become a member, get a whole bunch of really cool things. Also, if you are not doing that but still want CBD, or you are doing that and want more CBD, well, there's a great option and a great partner of ours who can offer that. We at DNVR, huge supporters of CBD. A lot of my coworkers use it and have great reviews, and I trust them, and you should too. As a consumer, though, you have to find the right product, the one that works best for you. Green Roads hooked us up with some incredible products. They've been awesome. I think the best reviews I've heard have been like this CBD thing. You take it, or the sleep CBD thing, and it makes you fall asleep. It's pretty cool. I know Ryan and Allie have talked about how that has, I can't remember if they use the phrase change their lives, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it may have changed their lives. Don't just have to trust them, though. Green Roads has over 30,000 5-star reviews. 30,000, and you can use the code DNVR20 for 20% off your entire purchase. A whole bunch of cool things about Green Roads. You know, they're the number one privately held CBD company in the U.S. by market share. They've won a whole bunch of awards for their products. They're founded by pharmacists. All their products are formulated by pharmacists. They have QR codes on the packaging of all of their products. And if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to independent lab test results for that product. You know, not the test that Green Roads does, just outsiders who they ask to like go check it out. And obviously, like, they wouldn't do that if the results weren't very, very good. They have a whole bunch of options. They've got oils, topicals, edibles, beverages. There's just so many things they can do. Like I said, it can help you sleep. It can help you like recover from inflammation from working out. It can help with just having a normal emotional balance. So many different things, something that it can do for you. Green Roads is a great option for that. Also, I gave you my DraftKings pick of the week earlier in this show, but there's more that you can bet on with DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you are a first-time user of DraftKings Sportsbook, then you can bet $1 on any NCAA tournament game. And if the team you pick wins, you win $100. It's that simple. Like I said, as much as I would love to see UCLA make it to the championship, Gonzaga's a lock. That's 100-1 odds. That's just a lock. You have to take advantage of that if you haven't yet. Again, you get to pick any college basketball team that's still in the hunt. You just need to win their next game. There's just really no better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. And if college basketball isn't for you, then DraftKings Sportsbook offers daily odds boosts on so many different things like pro basketball, hockey, golf, baseball is back. There's so much money to be made on whoever is playing the Rockies. I cannot stress that enough. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DMVR when you sign up, and turn $1 into $100 if the college basketball team of your choosing pulls off the win. That's code DMVR to turn $1 into $100 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right. Where do we leave off here? So, he was talking a little bit about the case in front of the Supreme Court right now that's basically going to determine a lot of different things about the rights of student athletes, including whether they're going to be able to profit off their name, image, and likeness, NIL, the phrase that we've been using for a couple of years now. So, Rick George is actually on the NCAA's committee that is putting together the rule that will be put in place about name, image, and likeness. You know, and it could say it's totally unrestricted. If you're a student athlete, you can sign a deal with whoever and take as much money as you want for whatever they want you to do. If a car company wants to give you $100 to go stand in front of their store and sign autographs, you can take that. If Nike comes calling and wants to give you $1 million a year deal, you can take that too and do whatever. You know, at the same time, they could say there's a cap on earnings. There's a cap on how many of these deals you can sign. There's a cap on what type of deal you can sign. There's so many different things in play. And the first step, of course, is for the government to decide what the rule is. California threw up a state law. That's not actually like what's at issue right now in front of the Supreme Court. What's at issue is it's NCAA v. Alston, which is an antitrust lawsuit that was filed by Sean Alston, the running back from West Virginia back in the day. It's going on for a while. It's also a center named Justine Hartman from Cal. She's a basketball player. The way it works, though, is that they say that they should be able to get access, or they should have been able to get access to more than the NCAA currently allows schools to provide. Things like scholarships for graduate degrees, paid internships after they graduate, computers, musical instruments if they're in classes, and other types of equipment like that. Because currently, other scholarships for other students do offer money for that sort of thing, but the NCAA doesn't allow it. It's one of the many dominoes. Like right now, there's Congress debating what's going on with the California law, whether it should be like implemented across the country, whether they need to try to find a way to get rid of it so they can find a consistent law across the country. It's kind of a mess right now, but what's going to happen is, I think Rick said he expects a decision in the Supreme Court case I think he said May or June is his expectation. And then with the other stuff, that will also, I think, probably follow a fairly similar timeline. And at that point, that's when Rick George and the rest of the Name, Image, Likeness Committee can figure out what exactly they want to get done. What he did say is that, we're still working on a proposal. We'll figure that out. But it is hard to have 50 different rules in 50 different states, and that causes issues. And recruiting is probably the biggest one. But that is kind of where we're at right now. California, I can't remember what exactly is in that law. It's been so long. I believe the point is that schools are not allowed to stop student athletes from profiting off their name, image, and likeness, and that applies to student athletes as well. And I think it just basically opens that up. And I'm not even sure when it goes into effect, if I'm being honest, but a lot going on. We're going to be following this stuff closely, but not until spring football season is over. So this will be a big topic in, as Rick George said, decision coming May, June. In May and June, and as we get into the fall, because there could be NIL opportunities for student athletes starting this fall, which is honestly pretty cool. Moving along from that massive topic, though, let's get into where's the money going to come from? Again, they're gonna finish somewhere between $18 million and $20 million short. They're entering the final quarter of their fiscal year. They don't know exactly what that number is going to be. Once they figure out what that number is, the plan is still to go to the Pac-12 loan fund, the Pac-12 secured loans to cover last season. That was big news like 6 months ago, probably. Maybe a little less than that. Maybe more, honestly. That might have been way back when we first heard that football was coming back, or before that when they secured testing and people were wondering if football was coming back. That was like September 21st or something. So yeah, that is still the plan, is just to borrow that amount from that fund, and then they'll just take the money that they've already taken out of future payouts from the Pac-12. So, for example, every year you get basically a check from the Pac-12 if you're a Pac-12 institution. There's a bunch of things that go into that. The money from the partners that is left over after paying expenses. The money from the TV deal. I think basically for every... this number might be wrong. I want to say, so let's see. The Pac-12's earned about $3 million per team in this tournament, the NCAA tournament. And basically for every win that a conference gets, they get one more unit, and those units are figured out what the amount is. And at this point, the Pac-12 has so many units that each team in the Pac-12, not just the teams in the tournament, are going to get about $3 million paid out over the next 6 years or so. And so, all of the Pac-12 performances over the previous 6, that fits into the payment. And so those will just be either reduced or just Colorado won't get one until they're back to even, but that's how that's going to work. Rick was asked again about the tournament, what the Pac-12 tournament or the NCAA tournament means for the Pac-12, and he says we made a statement. We had 5 teams in the tournament versus some conferences with 9. it was one conference with 9, I believe, and that conference was Big Ten. I think that if there's anybody who is involved with the Pac-12 in any way who isn't thrilled about not just the Pac-12 results, but the Pac-12 results to the Big Ten, that would surprise me. But went into the Sweet 16 with 4 teams, which is really impressive. He said, it's disappointing that USC and Oregon had to play each other. It's the way the ball bounces sometimes. It's definitely positive for the conference. He got why the football teams didn't receive all that much respect. It was a shortened season. They started late. But he never really understood why the national media wasn't a fan of the Pac-12 basketball teams. He said that now there's a big opportunity this fall for the football teams in the Pac-12 to do big things similar to what the Pac-12 basketball teams did in the NCAA tournament. He said that there's big games on the schedule. There's big games against teams from the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, all over the place. And that just provides a lot of opportunities. And hopefully they take advantage. And there's big games on the schedule, but one of the biggest is going to be played in Denver when Colorado gets to, I guess, not technically host Texas A&M, but basically host Texas A&M, which is currently ranked in the top 5. So opportunities are available on the football side as well. Talking about the opening Pac-12 commissioner job, I believe, let's see. So we know that Larry Scott's, I believe his technical last day is going to be May 31st or something. And the goal was to get somebody picked out by the end of April, so that in Larry Scott's last month, he could work with the new commissioner to just make sure that the transition is as seamless as possible. We are now into April. How did I not start this show off with an April Fool's joke? Wow. What a waste. I'm tempted to just turn this whole thing off right now. Well, damn. Where was I? Oh, yeah, it's April, which means a decision could be coming soonish. There's some rumored candidates, the AD from Ohio State, guys like that. What Rick George had to say today, though, is that he thinks it's a great job, the Pac-12 commissioner job, because there's just this tremendous upside, the ability to rebuild really the reputation of the Pac-12. It's not a situation where, take the SEC, for example. You take the SEC commissioner job, sure, it might be kind of hopefully easy to keep things going well, but if you don't, it could get ugly and your reputation would no longer be good and you'd be out pretty quickly. Pac-12, upside is there. He also said there's the opportunity to do something with the Pac-12 networks. I'm curious to see. I'm curious about a couple of things. First of all, what exactly will be done with the Pac-12 networks? Second of all, I'm curious what the feelings around the conference are, and Rick George in particular. In hindsight, I wish I would have asked him what he would do with the Pac-12 networks. Because I think that there's a 10% chance that he would have said, oh, I'd just throw him in the dumpster. But there's a much larger 90% chance, is maybe even too small, that he would have said, that there's still something of value there. They're salvageable. I think that ESPN, ABC, Fox, somebody would probably be interested in picking them up, something like that. I don't know. What happens to the Pac-12 networks? I have no idea. What I do know is that now is the time not to dig into that. From there, though, Rick George said, it's a tremendous opportunity for someone. And, Broncos fans in here, this may bring you back to a John Elway media availability after, I think it was either at the pro day or after the pro day for Kyler Murray, the quarterback at the time from Oklahoma, who's gone on to do really cool things as the number 1 overall pick of the Cardinals. But he was short, which is not, at least according to the memes, John Elway's type. He was a mobile quarterback, all that kind of stuff. And what John Elway said was, he's going to be a really good football player for someone. And that right there was enough to say, okay, he's not going to be a Bronco. And the fact that Rick George said it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for someone, I think that may say something similar, and that maybe Rick George isn't interested. Not that there had been like any rumors going around. I think initially that was the first thought of a lot of people. I mean, Buffs fans obviously, because you don't want to lose him, but around the conference he has that reputation as well. So I thought that for someone was probably a sign of something. From there, though, he had more to say. He said he hopes we get somebody with campus experience. He doesn't necessarily need TV experience. I agree with that. I know that there is a belief around the conference that somebody from the TV side of things would make a lot of sense, considering what is the first thing on the table? The TV media rights. And real quick, that was where Rick George went after saying what I just said he said. He said, we need somebody who can hit the ground running on the TV deal. We don't need to wait until 2023, 2024 when it expires. We need to get in the market early. Love that. From there, he said he wants somebody who understands what the campuses are dealing with, somebody with a good Rolodex and with media partners for the conference. And there's more that we can do in terms of partners for the conference. So there is a bunch of that. I do think that because the TV deal is really the first and maybe not only priority, but for the first year and up to 3 years, if that's how long it takes to get the deal done, it could potentially take that long because you are under contract that long. It should be pretty close to the only priority. I think that is why it's so easy to say we want somebody with TV experience, because they come from that background. They know those people. And it's like, yeah, what Rick said is we need a good negotiator. we need to get a good deal here. And I do think that taking somebody from the TV side, first of all, it could be pretty short-sighted considering there are other things that the commissioner is going to have to do right away. But more importantly, once that gets taken care of, ideally you have somebody who you can lock in for the future and not just for the next few years when you're getting this deal done. But on top of that, just because somebody has TV experience doesn't mean that they're going to be able to get you the best TV deal. I think that there's a chance. There is a chance, but I don't know. I'm with Rick. It doesn't necessarily need to be TV experience. You want somebody who understands the campus and somebody who can negotiate a good TV deal, which, there might be people with TV experience who are good at that. Brian Howell asked about the new football nutritionist, specifically asking, is this a new role? And Rick said it is not a new role. There was somebody who was doing that before, and what he said was, he's hoping that that the teams can get back to eating in person sometime soon, because it's easier to teach the student athletes about what to put in their bodies and why. The new football nutritionist, she's been working the line and she's talking with them as they're picking up the food, that kind of stuff. But eventually they'll get more time together, according to Rick, and that's going to be good for the football team. One more point, and it's about PointsBet. You'll remember there was a partnership between CU and PointsBet that was signed over the summer. It hasn't been a year yet. I guess it's been 8 or 9 months. I think it was Justin Guerrero who asked this question of Rivals, and I think he did know it. And I think he said it was 8 months, and I believe him since he's asking the question. He said, has that paid off? Have you been able to get student athletes into jobs with PointsBet? And what Rick said was, year 1 of 5 is almost done. It's going to be really good for us. It's a unique thing that they're focused on career leadership and trying to help us find opportunities for our student athletes. But with everything going on, we haven't had a chance to really talk to them since we signed the deal. If you're looking for things that Rick George said that didn't sound good, honestly, that's probably the only one. And honestly, you didn't have a chance to figure out how to set up internships with PointsBet for your student athletes during the pandemic. I mean, first of all, a lot of internships are over the summer, so probably good there. That makes it feel a little bit better. Second of all, are there even internships happening? I guess I should know. We've had Ben. I would guess that there aren't as many. So there you go. Good stuff from Rick. Definitely not all good news, but it's a pandemic and they lost $20 million. That was to be expected. Overall, though, considering the circumstances, not a bad year. Hopefully we'll get fans in the stands. I've kind of just been assuming, which you shouldn't do, and I've been knocking on wood enough, I promise. I know people are superstitious, but it's just so long between now and then to find a way to get 70% of the population vaccinated or 80% or whatever is needed. I know I'm excited. I'm not sure, honestly, like, we did the post games last year and it was a lot of fun. Am I going to games next year? Who knows? That's TBD on my end. Hopefully all of us will get to be at Folsom this fall. It'd be a lot of fun. Until then, we get to watch the Rockies lose, I guess. I'll be back tomorrow, though, with another podcast. Like I said, that's going to be up. Look for it around 8 p.m. if you, like me, do not have much going on Friday nights at this point. If not, you have all weekend to listen, and then there will be another on Monday when we get another podcast. I'm excited. Spring football is not the best time of the year, but really, really close to it, and especially these first couple of weeks when you're getting updates right and left. There needs to be year-round football. That just needs to happen at this point. All right, I'm out of here. Got to go watch the Rockies lose. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I think they like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that goal, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag is pushing 180. Speed and pad competition, see you later, baby. Colorado Army with soldiers like the Navy, and boat is where we station, patiently awaiting. When I hit the field, it's so hard to behave. I'm Colorado swagging as the crowd do the wave. Look into my eyes, I can tell that you afraid, cause you know we finna hit ya. Hey, you on your own now, why you watching the official? You just better hope you make it to the next whistle. And we ain't playing with you can get it anytime. It started at the scrimmage, we gon' win it at the line. My Colorado swag in the middle of the ring, throwing blows, knocking down team after team. I think they like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that goal, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear I think they like my Colorado swag. Have you ever seen around? Nah, I'm Boulder, Colorado. Buffalo is what I am. All the teams come and follow. When I start hit the field, the opposing crowd swallow, cause they know I'm about to kill. He gon' feel that tomorrow. Whole team full of warriors, got me feeling tribal. Big 12, here we come. We ain't worried about a rival. If you want it, come and get it. We'll wait for your arrival. When you hit this frozen field, man, it's all about survival. Pray you make it, yeah, you better bring your Bible. Crack back, blind side, flat line, no revival. Get them busts, mess them up, we say we got them. If we don't, then we'll get them. When we see them, then we have them. Like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that goal, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear I think they like my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that goal, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear I think they like my Colorado swag.